Welcome back, fellow Dream Warriors, to Riderpiece Theater. Me, Alistair Dayhawk, and tonight, me proud to present Kamen Rider Zeztz, episode 15. So, everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, first off. Yes, I'm recording on Christmas Eve because, I work, unfortunately, and, I should have, done this earlier, the usual time slot, either on the same day or a Monday, but, work always gets in the way. But I'm here now, once again, on Christmas Eve, giving you my review/recap of episode 15, and also, we've been giving a week off because this coming Sunday, there's no Zeztz, there's no Super Sentai. It's a week off until the new year. And I have to say, guys, we didn't have a kill off this episode because, Yuya has this weird tradition of killing off a character during Christmas. But then again, just because a character didn't get killed off on a Christmas episode doesn't mean it could happen in the first episode of the new year. So yeah, and then next week we get the debut of Kamen Rider Nox, and this episode, it's pretty much ending an arc, because now, the board has been set now. Unfortunately, there's no Freddy Krueger, but we have introduced. We get an introduction of the lady, and then with Nox being rescued, and Zero, the Decepticon, is very angry towards Baku for not fulfilling his mission. So let us begin our tale, our beloved Dream Warriors, to this first scene. It's pretty much an extended, scene, because after what happened last week, Nox leaves after giving Baku a warning to protect himself, trust nobody, and he leaves. And Nem, as she just stands there looking at Baku, being all stunned and like, what does he mean by protecting yourself, trust no one, and the darkness is not Freddy Krueger but code itself. And Nem is just like, okay, what the hell am I supposed to do? Because she's just feeling helpless at the moment. She doesn't know what to do. While at the same time, back in the real world, Minami is very worried about Baku because so far he has not woken up from his comatose state. And she's just sitting there, and I'm sure she hasn't eaten all day, and she's just very concerned about her older brother. So we move on to the next scene. This is where Baku, in Dream World, confronts the Decepticon Zero and asks him what in the hell is Code all about, and who is Nox? Like, the general questions. Like, he asks 3 questions, right? What is Code, its purpose, and who is Nox? And Zero, like, you could imagine, like, Zero is not gonna give him the complete answers, right? He's gonna give him, like, maybe little to maybe even made up answers, trying to convince Baku to kill Nox. But in any case, the Decepticon answered most of his questions. Like, for instance, the first question, what is Code? And Code is all about, preserving and keeping world peace. And its mission for the agents and for the company is, the mission of our agents lies in a gray area. Its morality cannot be summed up so easily, because, if it's up against the greater good, I mean, unfortunately, what Zero said, it's a great area. You have to complete missions that you may or may not like. And in this case, Baku is on a mission to kill somebody, right? And so, which leads up to the question of who the hell is Nox. And the Decepticon Zero says, well, he used to be a fellow agent of Code, and he has the code name of number 4, and he shows off Nox's old ring, and that was it. It's just, that's it, because you would assume that Zero would explain everything, like who the hell is Nox, why is he our enemy, that sort of thing, but he just says, well, he used to be a former agent of ours, and his code name is 4, and that's it. That's pretty much it. And Zero ends with, he is the enemy now, and you have a mission to fulfill, because, he is just using the nightmares to destroy the world. It goes against, the code to preserve world peace, right? Nox is a threat to world peace, which is why he needs to be destroyed. And then, speaking of Nox, we go to him reliving his old spy days, and he recalls his last day on the job where he was on a mission. He looked like he was about to get defeated. He calls Zero for help, but this is where Zero does a heel turn, or he was already a heel, whatever. He tells Nox, or Otaka at the time, he says, no backup. You need to fulfill your mission on your own. Good luck. And I'm like, what the hell? Really, Zero? Really? You leave him to rot? Like, he looks like he cannot transform, and he's outnumbered. He's calling you for backup, and you don't give in to him. Why didn't you? That's the question. Why didn't you, give him the agents to help him out? Because he looked like he was about to die. And so I wouldn't be surprised, why Nox hates Code so much, because Code left them to die. And so, we go to, after the flashback, you get to see the shadow that Nox is hunting. It's taunting him, and it takes him to his old office. And then we go to the next scene after the opening credits with Baku. This is strange. Like, I question why Baku did this. Baku decides to leave his phone on Zero's desk. And I figured maybe he did it for a reason towards the end, but he just decided to leave his phone behind on Zero's desk. And then as Baku goes down the steps, Zero adds that Code has a greater cause that sometimes comes before a human life. So Zero is saying that Code's mission goes ahead of a human life. Like, uh-oh. Oh, so the mission goes against, someone's life. That's what he's saying. And Baku realizes that so we are interchangeable numbers meant to follow orders. And he goes on by saying, that's not the agent that I want to be. I want to be just like 007. He wants to save the damsels in distress and act cool, be all handsome, at the same time, completing his missions and destroying enemies. That's what he wants to be. That's what he wants to strive for. He wants to be 007. And Zero's like, I can't say anything. If you want to be like that, go right ahead. I have nothing against it. And then he goes to the capsule machine. He gets brand new capsiums. Zero is all happy, assuming that he and Baku share one mind, that, he will carry on the mission to killing Nox. And so Zero presents him with, the white capsule that says, that could power up the Zero Rider and increase Zetz's strength. So it's like an enhancement capsule. So I'm like, okay. And then Zero ends the scene with, one more thing, Baku. Don't make your sister worry too much about you. And Baku is just that standing there just momentarily like, what? Like, what do you mean by that? What about my sister? He never, asked, why are you, why do you say that? What's going on here? Is there something you're not telling me, Zero? I mean, there's lots of things that Zero is not telling Baku. But he just stood there and like, what do you mean by that? But, eventually he will catch on what he meant. So after that, we go back to the real world with Mulder and Scully. They are investigating this woman who saw this mysterious energy ball that was in the sky, and Mulder assumes that, hey, it must be a nightmare at work here. So yeah. In the next scene, you see a vulnerable Nox. This is the first time I've seen Nox be this vulnerable before, because up to now, Nox is strong, confident, and he's willing to, complete his missions and leading the nightmares to do God knows what, as we all know. But in this case, this is where we see Nox all crumble, into a ball against the wall, and he's just scared. He is very vulnerable and weak. And all of a sudden, Nem pops up, and Nox is like, what the hell? Why are you even here in my dream? What's going on? And, Nem is asking him questions like, are you afraid of the dark? And Nox refuses to answer and ask her to leave. And then she adds on, the darkness of sleepless nights you spent, you fight, you're afraid of the nightmares or the darkness of the organization that betrayed you. And of course Nox is yelling and screaming shut up, you do not continue. And obviously Nem is striking a nerve. He is afraid of the dark, and of course he is afraid of code, while at the same time he hates code. Because remember, we just saw in that flashback, Zero left him to die. So I wouldn't be surprised that other than revenge, he is afraid of code. And so she adds on, darkness is your worst nightmare. And Nem leaves with, I only exist in dreams, and you don't belong here. And then we go to Baku breaking and entering and finds Nox's mind's door with one of them being opened. And Nem pops up telling Baku what she learned about Nox, that he is afraid of the darkness and the darkness of night and his organization. And then we quickly go to the next scene with Zero. He goes to his desk and notices Baku's phone on his table and says, don't let me down, 7. And that's it. And then we go to Baku and Nem enters Nox's dream, and Nox attacks, demanding both of them to get out of his dream. But of course Baku says, I can't leave because I have a mission to fulfill. And he says, eliminate the enemy and all that. But then he adds, yes, I'm here to eliminate the enemy, but it's not you, Nox. You're not my enemy. And he adds on, look, I hate the bad dream, but the dreamer has done nothing wrong. And then this is where we quickly go back to Zero, and he just sits down on his chair, and he just realizes that, okay, I think Baku is not gonna fulfill his mission. He's not gonna kill Nox. So I assume maybe, just maybe, Baku left the phone behind just for Zero to listen in his answer as to, yeah, I'm not gonna kill Nox. And that leaves Zero be all disappointed. Or it could be Zero's gut feeling that, yeah, Baku is not gonna do it. Either way, you could feel that Zero is disappointed in Baku's decision of not killing off Nox. And then, after making this declaration that Nox is not the enemy, you see Nox getting taunted by the shadow, that he will never wake up from this nightmare, and then Baku, says that everybody is afraid of something, and the night doesn't last forever, and he turns into the Flash. Yeah, that's Zed Plasma, but I like to call it the Flash because he has the power of the Flash. Anyways, he turns into the Flash, and instead of attacking Nox, he is attacking the Shadow to be revealed as the Shadow Nightmare. And as Baku and the Nightmare fight, we go back to the real world. Mulder and Scully sees the lightning in the sky and decides to follow it. And then we go back to the Baku versus Shadow Nightmare, and you see Baku using the new form to kick ass, but then once again the form malfunctions or ran out of juice, and he ends up using some of the new capsims that he obtained earlier in the episode, and he uses the barrier form to create a barrier for Nox for protection, and Nox is like, what the hell are you doing? I don't need your help. And Baku's like, no, it's not for your protection, it's for you to not get away. And then we go back to the real world, and the lightning led the paranormal agents to this area full of caverns, and apparently Mulder assumes that maybe, just maybe, this is where Otaka is right now. And then Baku uses the booster capsum to get a new form, and destroys the Shadow Nightmare once and for all, freeing Nox from his Sleeping Beauty mode. And we go back to the real world with Mulder and Scully. They find the cabin that houses, Sleeping Beauty Nox. And then we go back to the dream world, and this is where we get Baku and Nox, talking to each other for the last time, at least for now. This is where Baku asks, you had plenty of time, plenty of opportunity to kill me. Why didn't you? Instead, you've been giving me warnings. What's going on? And he adds, I hate code, but the agent did nothing wrong. It's almost as if Nox pretty much threw Baku's words back at him, because remember earlier, Baku said, I hate bad dreams, but the dreamer did nothing wrong. And Nox's response as to why he helped Baku, in the sense of giving him warnings and all that stuff, he just throws his words back at him. Instead of bad dreams and dreamer, he replaced it with, I hate code, but the agent did nothing wrong. So I thought it was a cool exchange. And so Nox leaves, Baku leaves as well, and ends it with, hey, at least we're even now. And we go to the real world once again, where Otaka and Baku wakes up at the same time. Baku wakes up and sees, the worried Minami, and then he notices that his closet is open, leading to the spy room, and he turns to look at his little sister and says, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not letting you know that I'm a secret agent and I didn't want to worry you," that sort of thing. And a great response from Minami, instead of, playing the role of playing the 101 questions, she just says, "Just don't push yourself too hard." And this causes Baku to say thank you. And then we go back to the cabin with Mulder and Scully. And you would think that, Mulder's and Otaka's reunion would be a happy one. It's not the case, because Mulder gets greeted by gunpoint at the back. And Otaka says, "There's something I need to do." And that's it. And then Mulder's asking questions like, "Look, I've been searching for you. Why did you leave? I need answers. Why? Why?" But of course, Otaka doesn't say anything to explain himself. So before Mulder could get any answers, Scully comes in, and then Otaka pushes his old partner to Scully, and he closes the door and he disappears and leaves poor Mulder screaming his yang, "Otaka! Otaka! Doshite! Why? Why?" You could tell that Mulder really cares about this guy. And then we get to the last scene of the episode, the last scene of the year, where we see a purple butterfly being guided by this woman in black. And you see this butterfly flying through the window into a sea of flowers, what looks like to be a garden/park, where you see all these purple butterflies flying around. And then you see Knox dressed in all black and greets the woman in black he refers to as the lady. And the lady says, "Good morning, Knox. Good morning, the lady," that sort of thing. And the lady asks, "How does it feel to wake up from a long dream?" And Knox responds with, "The boundary between dreams and real life still feels slurred." And the lady says that boundary will soon go away. And then she adds about her having this dream of being this butterfly, blah, 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 blah. Then we get to her motives. She says that her motives are to remove Knox from the world, to have the world be free without code. And that's how the episode, or in this case, the last episode of the year, ends. So the episode ends with, we have a few answers, but lots of more questions that needs to be answered. Like, who the hell is the lady? Was she also betrayed by code? What did she meant by the boundary will go away? Like, is she trying to destroy the barrier between Dreamland and the real world? That's what it sounds like to me. Zero the Decepticon is very upset with Baku, and Baku gets a new form, and Mulder has his reunion with Otaka, which kind of ended with him having a gun at his back, and he's just like, and Knox's answer is, "I have something to do. I can't go back to you." And then, leaving poor Mulder and screaming and yelling mode. Yeah, I mean, it's a good episode. It's just, again, it's more questions than answers. At least Minami is like, approves of what he's doing. Baku is, and just says, "Look, just don't push yourself, okay? I get it. I'm not gonna baby you or demand you questions, or worse, forbid you from doing your job. I get it. But of course, Minami is not going to tell Baku about what Zero told her. If you say anything, then I have to eliminate you. And then questions about Nox. I just think that maybe, just maybe, he's a double agent. He's working for the lady, and maybe he's working for himself. I don't know. But yeah, I just get this feeling that this anti-code is maybe the result of, code, abandoning them, deserting them when they needed help. Because why else is Nox with them? And what's the purpose of those butterflies in that garden? And yeah, I think that's it, guys. I mean, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. Of course, Zero is not going to give Baku the whole answers, except that he used to be 004 and whatnot. And, Baku is going to get an earful from Zero. You betrayed code and all that. But, we all knew that Baku will never kill anybody, even especially if it's on a mission and thing. So, yeah. In any case, thank you so much for listening. Tell me your thoughts and opinions about this episode. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did I miss anything? Give me your theories about who this lady is, her motivation, which we all know, because she just said that, she wants a world without code. But why? Nox, why is Nox in league with the lady? Which I think, I think they share a common goal to get rid of code. But there's other reasons behind it, I think. I think he's a double agent. And how would Baku take Zero's wrath after failing on his mission? Yeah, give me your thoughts and opinions, and give a like if you like it, and please subscribe. And also, once again, Merry Christmas to you all. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, yada, yada, yada. And I'll see you next year, guys. Can you believe it? I mean, today is Christmas Eve. Next week is New Year's Eve. And then 2026, believe it or not. And enjoy your break. And I'll see you all on the other side of Oblivion. Johnny. Merry Christmas, everyone.